All right, this is it.
This is it, man. I've always wanted to do something like this because it's great.
Yeah,
I love the conversations that I hear sometimes on YouTube.
yeah,
It'll just take me places, and I'll just be home
yeah,
washing my dishes or doing laundry or whatever, and
yeah.
it's nothing like just tuning in.
I know, right? It's it's a good way to feel that you can learn things throughout the day without really having to read a book or sit down. It's good to do that too, but I feel like it's
Yeah, it's
important
a
to
casual kind of way of learning if you
yeah,
so
exactly, yeah.
choose.
Hmm.
So that's really fun
Yeah.
because reading a book, I love reading and I read all the time, and I got a big old stack of Kindle books.
What's the last book you read?
Oh man, I just started reading. It was a Stuart Wilde, The Little Money Bible, The Little Book
Hmm.
of Money, I think it's called,
Okay.
which is the old Stuart Wilde. I'm a enormous Stuart Wilde fan.
Yeah.
And that one, honestly, he goes in a very spiritual place a lot of times, and he'll talk
Yeah.
about metaphysics and
Yeah.
stuff, and going in trances. But the money book is very practical, and it's
Yeah.
just old school facts on how not to be silly with money.
Right.
It's
Right.
not a silly issue.
Yeah.
You gotta be serious with it, man.
Yeah.
You can be a silly person all you want, but money's not one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. But how do you? How serious you think you gotta be with money? Because I feel like it's good to be serious to consider money as something very valuable that we can use to grow, but at the same time, don't put too much, focus on it. I would say.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I think the practical old school means of doing a budget for yourself is
yeah,
good, and just having awareness of it, whether that's using an app. I use the Rocket Money app, or you can just write it down
yeah,
on your notebook.
yeah,
But just having some sort of awareness, but do definitely a lot that fund money,
yeah,
for those needs,
yeah,
because that's also important too.
yeah. I agree.
Be serious about your fun time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way. It would be.
You think
That's,
about anyone who's like super duper wealthy, and they work their butts off, obviously, but when they do vacation time, they vacation hard as well. They
yeah,
do it all
it's true.
hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the goal right there.
And it creates an even greater flow when you release money to
Yeah,
the
yeah, exactly.
to the world and be like, okay, here it is. I earned that, but I hear it back.
Yeah, and
Just
what's great about that is you can be proud of it even if you're spending money on something like getting a PS5 or whatever,
yeah,
because you're not guilty over it.
yeah, yeah,
It's not a guilty
yeah,
pleasure. You don't feel this, ooh, I did a little thing. I pulled the trigger on a little
yeah,
gizmo.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, I worked hard. I got here and I want to have some fun now.
yeah,
So it's like you can be proud about that.
yeah.
So,
As long as you I guess, budget it right.
yeah.
If you okay, now I know how I made an extra 5K this month, and I'd be like, I'm gonna utilize $2,000 maybe to really, I haven't had vacations for a year or something. I'm gonna use that to
Yeah.
really treat myself.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And the sky's the limit on that. I mean, you can keep building that up and really make it a really epic
yeah,
vacation. You go to a couple places,
yeah,
take yourself to Fiji,
yeah,
South America somewhere.
yeah,
So,
definitely. Especially traveling somewhere where it's exotic
yes, exactly,
and it
man.
really takes out of your environment, right?
Yeah. That's I want to start doing research on some of the best islands. So, if you got any suggestions, man, I'll figure out a way to get there.
Yeah. Do you think of islands you want to buy or what?
Oh.
Do you think I'll see the islands you can buy or I don't know?
I'm sure there is, man. I mean, I've traveled very little, but after going to Japan twice, I realized how big the world is.
Mm-hmm.
And it truly is. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Um, so I keep going back to Japan, of course, because I'm very, very deep in Japanese culture,
Yeah.
and I love their take on things I like minimalism
Yeah,
and anime.
yeah, and
But
yeah, and they're like so respectful.
extremely respectful.
As human being, they have so much respect for actually everything around them. Even I've never been there, but I've heard like how like the streets are so clean, and how they would never spit out, right? That's
No,
something very rude
big
to
no
do,
no.
right? Because I have the tendency to sometimes to spit when I'm like in nature or whatever.
Careful, he's a spitter.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I don't.
that's
It's very
okay.
occasional when I do that, but
Oh yeah, if I got like I don't know, a little mucus or whatever, it's
yeah,
like
mucus or like extra saliva
yeah,
somehow.
just spit. It's okay,
Yeah,
yeah. But you're very right about that. It's respect is very very heavily encouraged and
yeah,
enforced there almost.
yeah.
And you see no trash cans anywhere you go.
Really?
Yet everywhere you go is unbelievably clean. At least the
Yeah.
very common
So
places that
what's
I've
the
been.
thing? People like keep it on themselves or and then
That's
trash it
exactly
later
right.
on.
So, and I witnessed it my very first time going to Japan. I went to 7-Eleven, and 7-Elevens are very fancy. They're very
Yeah,
nice. So when I got there and I got a couple onigiris, which is the little rice triangles filled with stuff, I
yeah,
had all these wrappers and all this plastic. So I was like looking around for a trash can,
yeah,
and I realized right then and there, I got to put this in my pocket or in
yeah,
my backpack, and you got to take it home with you.
yeah,
So they do that for the trash that they have on them, and it
yeah.
even goes to the nice thing is there's bathrooms everywhere. It's
Hmm.
all public. It's not like you have to buy something or be a customer. You can go to the bathroom anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no paper towels anywhere.
Really?
And there's not even a lot of places don't have the hand dryers.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you have to bring a little handkerchief, a little towel of your own. So
Interesting.
yeah, so it's cool. It's very admirable, but that would be something hard for Americans to get used to.
For real.
So like, what do I just gotta wipe it off? That's
Yeah, yeah.
So I learned the hard way one time, and then from then I figured it out.
Well, that means you gotta be organized too. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you, this is how this is. It's been like this forever, so I guess this is part of the way they live. But I wonder how, like, yeah, when you travel there, do you have to really, you know,
You do have
know
to
these things?
prepare.
Because how do you know these things?
Yeah, you have to prepare a little bit,
Yeah.
and it goes to show you how much we take for granted.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, paper towels, I can find that.
Yeah.
This, it's like, but it's good to be a little
like when we
responsible.
go to Whole Foods, it's like free napkins.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's a sweet deal on those
Yeah.
napkins.
Yeah, it's a good. I like this joke we have, you and I, for the free napkins, because it's at some point it's like, yeah, you get as many napkins as you want. When you
Right.
think about it, it's like you actually taking things that you will actually not use really in the end of it.
Right. You ever take like an excess of?
Yeah.
It's just like so
Yeah.
many at
You see some
Chipotle.
people sometimes they're getting like, yeah, exactly, like 10
Just take like a
napkins.
handful and throw
Yeah.
all of it away.
Yeah, they use like 2 of them and then throw the rest away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's something you will never see in Japan.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They'll give you one napkin, and they'll still give you a fork or chopsticks. And going back to the respect thing, man, it even goes to anything that's handed to you, even like money at a cashier, both hands. Always. You'll never see. It's a very foreigner thing.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that now in the movies.
Yes,
This is
exactly.
how they like give you
They'll
something.
even dip their head down a
Yeah.
little bit, little bow.
Wow.
So yeah, the respect thing. I'll tell you the most interesting. I mean, and this was like, wow, I gotta really just like watch out for myself. I got on a bus one time, and I didn't have enough change. So what had happened was I put a couple coins in, and then I tried to put like the equivalent of a $10 bill in,
Yeah.
and it kind of threw everything off.
Uh huh.
But the bus driver, without skipping a beat, just parks the bus, gets his wallet out, hits the eject button on the money, gives me all my stuff, and just drops his bill in, and just there was nothing. I was like, wow, thank you, and I feel terrible.
He actually took time
Yeah.
to park the bus and
Yeah.
do that.
And nobody tripped out or
Right.
anything. It was just like so seamless, and it was like
Yeah.
he was prepared,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know. he saw the American coming. No, but,
This guy is a tourist.
yeah,
Okay,
it's like, oh, here we
white
go. Now's our time.
It's like another one.
Right.
It's like extremely respectful, in front of you, but maybe behind, it's like,
Yeah, unbelievably.
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it gets to be a lot though because there's a lot of people that still wear the face mask all the time.
Yeah,
well before and after the pandemic.
Yeah, that's something cultural they have. Not
Yeah.
cultural, but is that cultural?
It is cultural.
Because it's like
definitely-
I don't want to transmit my germs
yeah,
around me if I'm like sick, have some.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, okay, you'll see a lot of the older Japanese people definitely rocking the mask all
Yeah.
the time, and they'll even be riding a bicycle down the street by themselves with
Yeah.
a mask. It's like
Yeah.
around nobody. So I have a feeling that for the younger generations, it's probably like, oh man, they're still
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
But no, you'll still see plenty of face masks. It makes sense for transportation, though.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, which is cool, and I'll even wear my mask just
Yeah.
to blend in. just to be
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I think it does make sense when you stay confined in such a long time in a very small space,
Yes.
and
absolutely.
someone is sick, and you know what? It reminds me of something like once. It was actually during COVID.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Towards the end of it. No, maybe I don't exactly know when, but we were playing a show with one of my band I was touring with. I think he was in. We were in San Diego
Mhm.
at a bar. We played a show, and that guy, we were like it's very tiny bar, that probably stage at the end of it, and that guy was like talking to me like so close. I could smell his breath at some
Oof.
point. I was like, number one, I'm grossed out.
Yeah.
This guy is drinking a beer. I can smell his breath.
His beer breath.
And I'm like, yo, if this guy is sick, I'm gonna be sick too. There's no
Oh,
way
yeah.
I have just inhaled so much of his breath.
Right.
So there's so much particles and germs go through his breath. So it's I was like,
Man, I'm
at that
done.
point, I'm not a big on. I know I'm very healthy person. I have a strong immune system. Even though at that point I was like, that's risky here.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have rather have a mask on my face right now.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean. And so just a couple of weeks ago, there was kind of a sick season where
Mhm.
just a lot of people were getting hit with all different sick.
Yeah.
And I remember, so I teach music for a living, and I have all these students and stuff, and it's just one after the other after the other. And I remember there was a Wednesday where every single student was sick.
Oh wow.
And I either smelled it on their breath or
Yeah.
they were like coughing and
Yeah.
sneezing all over the place.
Yeah.
And I was just so frazzled over that. But
Yeah.
man, it just taught me a life lesson. It's like, look, you gotta do what you gotta do and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I did what I possibly could do, which was just deal with it at the time,
Mhm.
and then go home and take your vitamins, take the emergency packets and the elderberry
Yeah.
gummies and stuff. So
Yeah.
I just went insanely hard. It said take one, I took like 9. So I did 2 packets of emergency.
Did you have any side effects doing this?
No,
Just a bunch.
don't try this at home.
No. Yeah.
But no, I was completely okay.
Yeah.
And I did that for like a couple of days. But you know something? I didn't get sick,
Yeah.
and everybody else got a little something.
Yeah.
Got a little sick, but
Mhm.
I did not.
Well, I think I truly believe we don't really understand how we get sick.
Right.
I think we understand the mechanism of it, like how your body will respond to it when it's being attacked, and how we, in our body we know already if we were exposed to any kind of sickness before, our bodies get used to respond to that for sure.
Right.
But I think some point there's something beyond that.
Mhm.
It goes way beyond that, and I believe in something that, especially ever since COVID,
Mhm.
I believe that our mindset
Yes.
and the way we feel about ourselves in the moment
Mhm.
can translate a lot of our, I would say, emphasize or strengthen our immune system, not in the way where like we are our body's stronger, but in the way we like if you vibrate on a higher vibration, it kind of blocks. So it's hard to like, it sounds like a woo-woo thing, but I feel like
Right.
it kind of blocks lower vibrational any type of like atoms, molecules, and particles.
Yes,
So
yes, it's thought, man,
yeah,
and
so
thought
we're
is
going
so
deep now.
powerful. Yes, yes, here we go. We've gone down a layer. Here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
Inception.
I mean, yes, thought is so powerful, man, and life is a simulation at some point, like the Matrix or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
But I mean, your thought obviously it creates your reality, man, and you think of what most things are made of at a molecular level, like you said, the atoms. It's vibrations and it's light,
yeah,
light energy, and
yeah,
sunlight particularly.
yeah,
But I think the you know no not so much worry mindset
yeah.
is for your immune system.
I think so.
Honestly,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
think
I mean,
about,
I
okay,
believe
how
so.
strong is your immune system? What are you doing for that, man? If you just get that sunlight and you keep a stress free,
Yeah.
rather positive as much as you can
Mm-hmm.
mindset going through it,
Yeah.
that is a defense.
Yeah. It is.
And going back to COVID, a lot of people were obviously worrying like crazy. On a business level, it makes total sense because the whole world's about to be on
Yeah.
lockdown, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to shift lanes and figure something out on that.
Yeah.
But the stress was globally at an all-time high.
Yeah.
I probably could safely say.
Yeah.
So that is an attack on the immune system.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who got sick with COVID, their the immune system probably was already to begin with. Maybe wasn't the strongest for the people that really really got sick. And some
100%.
people
Yeah.
died.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
so feel bad for the
Already like living in a very stressful environment.
yes, super stressful, man. It's worth it to limit the the television intake.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you even own a television, Will?
I don't. I don't. I don't. Never.
Yeah.
I haven't owned a television for like. I think the last time I had one was when I was living in Lyon in France still.
Wow.
Yeah.
So since being in America, you have not had a TV?
Even pre that, because I was when I moved to Berlin. I think when I moved to Germany, this is when I didn't have a TV, and I think last time I had a TV when I was living with a girlfriend at that time in Lyon,
Right.
and we had a TV. I remember buying that
You shared
TV.
one. Yeah.
We had one, and yeah. After that, I never bought a TV ever again.
Right.
And for me, like TV means um, being extremely like passive,
Yes.
and that's something at that point, especially at that time of my life, I was like, I need to be more active and proactive towards
Yeah.
my life, and create some habits that's gonna help me to be extremely productive and to get to exactly where I want to. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I think the TV was like something I was like, I don't need that. I don't want that around me anymore.
I completely feel that, man. And it's, we can say that it's a big time vacuum, which it totally is if you sit
Yeah.
down and you indulge in it for too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
But it also takes up a lot of space in the mind. If
Yep.
you watch a bit and then you try to go on about your day, you're gonna be super thinking,
Yeah.
about everything that you watch. And I notice on the rare occasion that I see news, it's very repetitive.
It's so repetitive.
And I can't
man.
shake the feeling that that's not coincidental.
It's not coincidental. It's meant to like force a message into your mind. I mean, we know that. Everybody knows that. I mean,
Then take a break from it and
Yeah.
just see how different things are.
Yeah.
Just observe.
Yeah.
That's really, we're not here to like be police on adjusting your lifestyle in any shape, way, or form. But try different stuff, man. Don't get into a religion about it.
Yeah.
Just making it every day.
yeah,
And besides, when you watch, the news, you're not only watching the news. If you have commercials on, you're watching the heck out of those commercials. And you don't get to control what commercials you watch, really.
yeah, yeah.
If it's YouTube, you're just waiting for that skip button.
That skip button. Yeah.
I'm excited for our first episode of this. We're calling it the Silent Power Podcast.
Yeah,
Unless we think of a different name later on, who knows, but that's pretty cool. And Stuart Wilde is all about silent power, and he's one of my favorite, people. He passed away in 2009, so some things that you might hear me say, I've heard him say, so I can't take full credit on everything here.
sure.
But it's worth repeating because he died a while ago, and very few people know about him. But you can see on any of his interviews and any of his audiobooks on YouTube, which it's all out there. The YouTube comments, everyone who knows of him loves him, loves him. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, you saved me, you changed me, just on every facet of life.
How many books do you write?
He wrote, I believe, it might be under the double digits. It might be 8 or 9.
Okay.
What
would be the book you recommend?
Silent Power is one.
Yeah.
Here, let me just pop up I have my Kindle library right here. But The Little Book of Money is a good one.
Yeah.
The Trick to Money is Having Some.
Yeah.
He has his affirmations book. He has a book called The Force. I mentioned Silent Power and The Quickening. And there's an order for some. There's let's say there's 3 books on this subject, 4 on this subject, and however many on this other subject. And it is recommended to go through them in order because it is kind of like an undergraduate to grad school to doctorate kind of a thing here.
Mhm.
You might he reiterates some of his things from previous books, so it is still probably smooth to read through as you get to the last book.
Yeah.
But just so you don't have to do too much heavy thinking on, whoa, what was that? What was that?
Yeah.
It's good to start from what he suggests is the first one. And
I see.
there's on Amazon, there's like sets of 3 and stuff in that order, or you can go on. There's still a Stuart Wilde website.
Right on.
But yes,
Just one thing,
Yes.
make sure you stay close to the table.
Sure.
Just for the
The angle.
Make sure you make it to.
There you go. I'm like,
so we don't go through the entire episode. Number 1 episode, there's no mic. There's just Mike's voice.
Who's that guy talking? It's Will and the Ghost.
And it's just Will talking to random voice.
Will, why are you talking to yourself?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. So a lot of that, discussion really resonates with me. And he's into all different religions, but he's particularly fond of Taoism and Buddhism and stuff.
Okay.
But everything he likes to, as he says, get straight to the point. He doesn't like to climb up the effing mountain.
Yeah.
He likes to helicopter his way to the top.
Yeah.
Talk to the guy, which could be the Dalai Lama, and then get out.
Yeah.
And move on.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I like to think of things as well.
Yeah.
And I like to conduct my my lessons and coaching in that way too. I love all my students, and I cherish every moment with them, even if they're difficult or they're having difficulty at times. But I like to think of it as school. You don't go to school to stay in school forever.
Yeah.
We know some people like that.
Yeah.
But really, though, you got to get out at some point.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, and who knows how long I'll be a teacher for. I want to do as long as I can because I enjoy my work.
Yeah.
But everything could change in an instant for either one of us, the teacher or the student.
Sure.
So it's good to take it all serious, especially if you're taking lessons or you're doing some kind of coaching, because you have the coach for the 30 minutes or the 1 hour, and you have yourself for the other hundreds of hours for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So, and on that kick, I think of teacher as just a title, because we don't live in a day and age where we can inject knowledge into our brains. I wish we did. But the thing, not yet. We're gonna get there, though. I'm sure of it. A little computer
eventually,
chip. Yeah, you can bottle up a burp and just get information that way. No, but so we are our own teacher, because all I can do, I can't teach you. I can only show you how I do.
Right.
You have to teach yourself. and that's what
Mm.
it always comes down to.
Mhm.
So I think a big number one takeaway is you are the teacher.
Mm.
Even if you're the beginner is the expert. The beginner is the
Right.
teacher.
Right.
And there's an old maxim that if you want to succeed, double your rate of failure.
Mm.
And I hate the way that failure is taught to us. Failure is not an option.
Mm.
That's stupid.
Mm.
Failure better be an option
No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm down to fail, man. Because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to teach myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. So that's my way of thinking of things as well. But it's not like because I'm your teacher, I have the power and you don't.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
feel like there's always that kind of, it's almost a weird kind of dictatorship kind of role. It's like, I have it and you want it, but you don't have it. It's like,
Mm.
no, you have it. I'm just trying to get you to realize it.
Mm.
You know, that's my mission statement as a teacher.
So you're saying that it's not about teaching the thing; it's about helping the student to find the thing within themselves.
Yes. Are you a learner?
Yeah.
Are you a growth mindset individual?
Yeah. And that comes from within, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, my friend, where's the kingdom of heaven?
Within.
Aha! Right. So it's all, and the greatest enemy, as Bruce Lee said, is also within. That's another story. But the kingdom of heaven is within, man.
Yeah.
And I remember having really difficult days, and I've never practiced Christianity. I'm biologically Jewish, but I don't really adhere to one religion. I kind of like a little bit of everything, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one day where I kept repeating to myself, "The kingdom of heaven's within. The kingdom of heaven's within," and I decided to work out a little bit,
Yeah.
and then went for a run, and read a bit, and I just kept telling myself, "Where's the kingdom of heaven at? Where
Yeah.
we at, man?
Yeah.
You are the power. You
Yeah.
have the power because you are the power."
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to show my students.
Mhm.
Sorry, can't teach them. We went
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my philosophy
Right.
for anyone who wants to, learn from me as a teacher. I've been teaching music,
Mm-hmm.
but I use music as a way to give yourself a lens for life.
Mm.
Because if you think of things musically, music is hard to learn, especially if you are not like of that, gift where you're like just a musical being.
Yeah.
It's a really hard thing to like make yourself a musician. And you're a musician. You're a great drummer, one of the best that I know. It's been fun jamming with you. If you learn that you have to realize it's your journey, and sometimes that could mean going slow and doing things painfully basic, where
Yeah.
if people were to like look at you, they might laugh for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a humbling thing, man.
Oh, that's so humbling.
You can't go into my classroom with any ego,
Yeah.
and that's how my grade.
Where you
mentor
being
was.
put back in place. If you have too much ego, man, you
can't learn.
You can learn, and then you cannot perform truly.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And I was a young kid once, so I'm certainly no more clever than anybody else. I've definitely had my fair share of ego.
Yeah.
And I think the littlest tiny bit of ego is important, because otherwise how else would you get out of bed in the morning?
Yeah.
But if you come into a lesson with me, you got to shelf the ego and come to a place of going slow.
Yeah.
And taking it to a point where you know that you did everything correct.
Yeah.
And I don't care how long it takes, and I don't care how fast or slow you have to go to get there.
What's the is there a methodology that you think is very powerful when it comes to like learning anything, basically, but learning specifically like like an instrument, but that's something you can actually use for everything else in your life? So do you see something like the way you would learn an instrument, that's the way to learn other things in life too?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I'm just going to go right into, as I'm like teaching somebody that's like in the middle of a song, for example, when they get to the end of the song, I really believe in feeling and in the sense of touch. And I always ask, how do you, I don't say you did a good job or you did this how or that. I always ask the same question: how did that feel? Easy, medium, or hard?
Yeah.
And most of the time, the answers are shocking because I don't know how it felt to my student. I can tell them they did a great job, or let's fix the chorus
Yeah.
when you get there.
Mhm.
But they could be telling me, oh man, the intro, I felt really wonky on it, man. I felt like, full speed of the song is too fast. We need to slow it down.
Right.
And that can really easily go way past my radar, so it's always tap into your feeling.
Okay.
I think number one for music, which is kind of obvious, is be a good listener
Yeah.
because you need to learn how to listen to music. Because think about it as getting the best food you've ever had. If you don't know how to enjoy it and taste it
Yeah.
properly, you're just gonna swallow it down.
Yeah.
And there goes $1,000 meal, let's say. But if you learn how to be a great listener, to every delicate little detail.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then I'll argue that even more important when it comes to an instrument or many other things in life, you got to be aware of the sense of touch. Because a lot of teachers for piano, for guitar, you better believe for flute and clarinet,
So what's really like the sense of touch? What do you really mean by that?
Well, if you look at people performing live, okay, some of them sometimes they'll look at their hand here and there, they'll look a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you see like someone who's still learning, a very much an amateur on stage, they're like this the entire show. They're not communicating with their band. They're not listening to their band.
Yeah.
Their awareness is not there because their awareness is only in one place themselves. So it's a weird thing, but why I say go slow with everything is so you can eventually not use your eyes as much.
Right.
Sure, in the very beginning, look where you need to put your fingers and your hands, but eventually, take your eyes out of it. I think we're in a place in the world right now where we use our eyes for so much stuff, and you can use it a little bit for music, but you have to tap into the other senses.
Well, I mean, you're so right on that. I think on the fact that we use our eyes maybe too much.
Yes.
And not just too much, but also very not in a natural way.
Right.
But like looking at
scrolling,
screen time, and like what would be your ratio in between screen time and like nature time?
Right.
For instance, how long do you stay out and look at the trees or look at around you when you walk a trail or something like that, versus and how long you spend watching on that blue light?
Exactly, man. Oh, don't even get me started on the blue lights, man. I want to give 2 middle fingers to the blue light.
Well, but that's I think what you bring, the point of bringing here, like having a soft touch, right? That's what you said, right? Yeah, it's being aware of like not playing with your eyes, or not basically not playing with much with your senses.
Yeah.
But playing with your soul, like what's within.
Yeah. We are a feeling.
Yeah.
We have sensations. You're touching the table. That's a sensation.
Yeah.
You are a feeling.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to tap into. And you brought up a very good thing. How much are we using our eyes to look at nature and all the beautiful stuff? That goes into, we got to take the ego out of it, because it's like, yeah, Will, I know that that's a tree. I know that those are birds. That's great. Can we move on?
Yeah.
It's like, no. That's not the right way.
I've seen hundreds and thousands of trees.
I know what a tree looks like. Right. But you got to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
And just admire it, man. It's nature, and not all the trees are the same.
Yeah.
There's some pretty cool ones.
Yeah.
I woke up really, really early one morning, just to go for a little walk and just observe some nature.
Yeah.
And I looked at the tree in front of my apartment, and I just decided to stare at it for a while. And it was so cool.
Yeah.
I saw this. I didn't know what kind of bird it was. Might have been a finch, but it was hopping from branch to branch very, very like quickly and
Mm-hmm.
very aggressively, and it was like chirping so loud. It was singing
Yeah.
so loud and so aggressively.
Yeah.
And I like pondered that for the longest time. I'm like, is it trying to do a mating call? Is it
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to, what's it trying to do?
Yeah.
It was on a mission.
Yeah.
And that was so crazy. And I would have never thought.
I love that you like actually spend time, you know, like just looking at this and watching that scene happening
Right.
when like nobody would at the same time, like most people would just like ignore,
Oh,
ignore
absolutely.
most of that thing. So
Nobody got time for that.
yeah.
Exactly, man. But nature teaches quite a great deal, man. I feel
Yeah.
like the animals are wise.
And it's such a great way to like ground ourselves as well, to stay grounded and bring some peace.
Gets rid of that anxiety really fast.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure when you do that, your breathing changes and everything changes within you.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're someone that's anxious, do that very simple thing.
How important is breathing when it comes to calming the mind or getting rid of anxiety?
Well, I was like listening to something the other day. This guy was explaining how he's actually like an old rapper.
Cool.
Can't remember his name right now.
I've been listening to old school rap lately. Sorry, go on.
But he's very spiritual. I think he's I don't know if he was a Christian or not, but he was so close to God, too close to God.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, what he was saying is, well, if you go underwater, what happens? You can't breathe, right? If you can't breathe for too long, you're gonna die. Your body dies. Your vessel dies. Uh, that which means that you lose consciousness when you're about to die.
Right, right.
If it's not a direct shock or whatever, and even if you're like about to like fall from a like fall,
your brain shuts
your
down.
brain shuts down, so you lose consciousness right away. So losing consciousness, that means that you breathing and being conscious, you actually breathing the consciousness within you.
Wow.
And to me, I was like, it means so much. It tells you everything about how you should be living if you want to live on the highest,
Right.
right, on the highest ground, and be always on a high level frequency level. And that's the only time, for instance, when I go to church.
Mm-hmm.
I to me it's so much healing because I'm able to tap in that higher frequency way easier. So I breathe, but also I worship, and then as I do all these things, this is how I connect to God way easily. Like it's like a highway straight, path to God. It opens the doors, But back to breathing, I think breathing is your rhythm of life, pretty much.
I love that.
Right?
Breathing is the rhythm of
Yeah.
life, man, and you're in control.
You're in control, and then you choose. Like God gave you the decision. It lets you choose between doing the righteousness or doing what's not good for your soul.
Right. So would you say that breathing can more or less be a direct portal from the physical realm to the spiritual realm? It takes you right there. It takes you closer to God, you said.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
can. It has the power.
Well, I think the breathing, I think, allows us to be part of this world right now here.
Right.
That's why if you stop breathing, you're not here anymore.
You're breathing in consciousness.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And just to make it, it's hard to explain that because it's such a concept, and we I think everybody has this idea on that too. So that's my point of view, but most people would be like, no, I don't even think about it.
Right.
And this is because we don't think about it. This is why it's so precious.
And I'll
because
tell
it's our program.
Yes, so. I am very guilty of being a very shallow breather and being super duper not aware of breathing a lot of times.
I mean, it took me work to get to be aware of it. As a kid, I remember my dad once would be like, "Will, breathe. I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm not breathing.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So.
So
it's
I mean,
wonderful.
you know, I think everybody's guilty about that.
Yeah.
But it's just to be mindful, and any kind of I would say practice you want to use for it is
Yeah.
good. Um,
You've been my personal trainer for over a year and a half now. And I would say, that was a big lesson for me on a lot of these. Granted, I was much more out of shape.
mhm,
And as the workouts would get gradually harder
mhm,
or more demanding, I wouldn't even think to use breath as my aid.
mhm, mhm.
And it all, even before training with you, when we did that half marathon together. Oh, we just ran 13 miles together. We didn't
Yeah.
do a race, but you could tell I was really slowing down at a certain point and really like silently freaking out.
Yeah.
And it was very powerful when you said, "Dude, you gotta slow down your breathing
Yeah.
and focus on your breathing."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you, like 2 years later, I did an actual half marathon race, and I was able to run the entire thing, no walking at any point.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even going for a specific time, but I finished that one exactly 2 hours, and I did it in sandals. It was my first barefoot minimalist sandal
So that was the first time for
race.
you to run in sandals, an actual race,
An
I'm saying.
actual race,
Okay.
yeah. So I had been training for it. I'm a big fan of the zero sandals, and I will start making videos talking about that as
Yeah.
well. But I'm into all different facets of minimalism,
Yeah.
but not to exclude footwear. So
Sure.
I'm huge into that for all these physical reasons. I feel like normal shoes are like coffins for our feet. They keep everything really tightly packed.
Yeah.
The toes don't get to splay,
Mhm.
and you're up on a raised platform of foam,
Mhm.
and foam does not last very long.
Mhm.
It gets pressed down over time. So you can only put in so many. You can put like 400 or 500 miles
Yeah.
maximum on
Max.
and those
Max.
shoes are like $120.
Starting like 350, you start to feel like how like the sole got so hard,
Yeah,
and
and
how
then
it
your knee feels
compresses,
it.
and then the shape of it's kind of like weird.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't give you that feedback from how you're performing as your
yes,
feet
yeah,
hits
yeah,
the ground.
yeah. Mhm.
And so I have a lot of history, as you know, of doing marathons, full marathons, a bunch of half marathons to train for it and all that. And most of this was pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was all normal shoes, normal running shoes for me. But I wasn't getting that feedback where, okay, maybe I'm stomping on my left foot a little too hard
Mhm.
in this one spot. And that really came back to bite me because I was in one side of my mind is like, I got to keep training because I got to stay in shape to do the marathon.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it is like, this hurts, man. This is not right. This is
Mhm.
not good. And I was luckily able to, over the span of a few years, complete 4 full marathons. But I took a couple years off of not running just
Yeah.
because I would keep trying to run and then my knee pain would come back again.
Wow.
There'd just be, oh, here it is again. That
Wow.
sucks.
Yeah.
So it just kept happening.
Yeah.
And I was like really like, stressed out in my mind. So I learned about, zero shoes and the whole barefoot minimalist footwear movement.
Mhm.
And I decided to get, shoes and run really, really baby steps, really light, tiny little steps. And
Mhm.
gradually, I worked all the ligaments in my feet. You know how there's a bunch of bones, over 30 little tiny bones in your
Yeah.
feet,
Yeah.
and all the ligaments and tendons in them. So that's got to adjust.
Yeah.
Because they're used to being bound up like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once they're like this for a while, then you start to, that all translates into good legs, knees, knee ligaments, and hips and back.
Yeah.
So chances are I probably run a hair slower than most, but that half marathon I had no pain.
Mhm.
And I'm also into toe socks too, which helped me get no
Yeah.
blisters.
I like these too. Yeah. These like that's true. Like there's no blister when you get that. That's crazy.
Right.
Or the blisters like would appear like after very 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 long time.